With the 2026 Super Bowl right around the corner, conversations about halftime shows are everywhere again. Who's performing, what moments will go viral, and which performances will go down in history. But as we look ahead to the next Super Bowl, it's worth revisiting one of the most talked about halftime shows of all time, the Super Bowl of 2004. Not because of the music, not because of the choreography, but because of 1 second that will be replayed more than an entire career. On February the 1st, 2004, during the Super Bowl halftime show, Janet Jackson became the center of a moment that changed her relationship with the industry forever. And while the public saw controversy, behind the scenes, power was already deciding who would pay the price. By 2004, Janet Jackson wasn't just successful, she was untouchable. A 3-decade career, multiple genre-defining albums, Billboard records that still haven't been broken. Janet wasn't just chasing relevance, she was relevance. She helped shape modern pop choreography. She blurred the lines between R&B, pop, dance, and hip-hop. And she did it with a level of creative control very few artists, especially black women, were ever allowed. The Super Bowl halftime show wasn't a risk, it was a coronation. To understand why Janet paid such a heavy price, we need to be precise about what was supposed to happen and what didn't go according to plan. Despite how it was framed afterwards, the final moment of the performance was not intended to expose Janet's breast. According to Janet Jackson and her stylist, the plan was for Justin Timberlake to tear away part of the top, revealing a red lace bra underneath. A stylized theatrical reveal timed to the final lyric, "Gonna have you naked by the end of this song." But when Justin Timberlake pulled the costume, more fabric came off than intended. The underlayer failed. Instead of the lace, the camera caught a glimpse of Janet's breast, covered by a metal nipple shield. The broadcast cut away almost immediately, but in an era of slow motion replays, screenshots, and 24-hour news cycle, that second became immortal. This wasn't shock value, it wasn't choreography gone rogue. It was a wardrobe failure, amplified by networks that would later claim outrage while replaying the moment continuously. Within hours, the narrative shifted from explanation to blame. The term wardrobe malfunction spread quickly, softening the technical failure while still centering Janet's body as the problem. Janet issued a public apology almost immediately. She expressed regret. She clarified that the exposure was unintentional. Justin Timberlake also apologized, but noticeably quieter, framing the incident as something that had been, blown out of proportion.
If you consider it 50-50, I probably got 10% of the blame.
And from that moment on, the story hardened into something simple and convenient. Janet Jackson was reckless. Janet Jackson was inappropriate. Janet Jackson was the one who crossed the line. The fallout revealed a familiar pattern in the entertainment industry. Male artists have simulated sex on stage, performed shirtless, pushed boundaries, and courted controversy for decades, often being praised for it. But when a woman's body becomes the center of attention, especially a woman who owns her image, the response is different. Janet Jackson had always been confident in her sexuality, but it was on her terms. And historically, women who refuse to be passive are punished more harshly when something goes wrong. This wasn't about protecting viewers, it was about control and deciding who is allowed to be sexual without consequences. Race added another layer to the response. Janet Jackson wasn't just a woman, she was a black woman operating at the highest level of a white male-dominated media industry. Black female artists have long been subjected to stricter standards of respectability. When they conform, they're tolerated. When they don't, or are perceived not to, the backlash is swift. Janet Jackson wasn't publicly cancelled. There were no dramatic press conferences, no official bans announced. Instead, she was quietly erased. Radio stations stopped playing her music. She was disinvited from the Grammy Awards despite being scheduled to present that night. Television appearances disappeared. Interviews dried up. In the entertainment industry, silence is the most effective punishment. You don't destroy someone outright, you simply stop amplifying them. Much of this fallout traces back to Les Moonves, the powerful CEO of CBS at the time. Les Moonves repeatedly demanded that Janet issue a more submissive, humiliating apology, one that placed full responsibility on herself. Janet refused, and that refusal mattered. Shortly after, she was frozen out of CBS-owned platforms. No public explanation, just closed doors. But here's what's interesting. Years later, when Mr. Les himself was removed from CBS following multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, many began to reassess what really happened in 2004. What once looked like a moral outrage began to look like abuse of power. And then there's Justin Timberlake. He was never blacklisted, never removed from radio, never framed as a threat to public morality. His apology lacked urgency, and later interviews suggested the moment wasn't worth dwelling on. His career only grew stronger. Grammys, chart dominance, a return to the Super Bowl even, this time as a headliner. Same stage, same moment, completely different outcomes. The industry didn't punish the incident, it punished Janet.
24 hours after that Super Bowl, Janet issued an apology. And I had read in another magazine that you regret making that apology. Is that true? Why?
It was an accident. And management that I had at the time, they thought it was important that I did. You know, with the project coming out. And I had said, actually, before I sat down to record the apology, that I had said to them,
what are you apologizing for?
Yeah, why am I apologizing for an accident?
Well, you did say in the apology you apologized for anybody who might have been offended by
Right, and they wanted me to say that, so I did. They thought it was best that I do, so I did.
Do you think in any way that Justin Timberlake left you hanging out there?
Janet Jackson later continued making music. She continued touring, but the machine that once supported her was gone. This wasn't a fall from grace, it was more of a controlled removal from power. In recent years, conversations about sexism, race, and media accountability have shifted. And with that shift, Janet Jackson's Super Bowl moment is being re-examined. Not as a scandal, but as a case study in who the industry chooses to protect. 1 second didn't end Janet Jackson's career, but it exposed how quickly institutions can turn on you when power decides you're expendable. And that's why, over 20 years later, this moment still matters.